Two, and we about to get the stepping, get the stepping, get the stepping. Hey, so the WNBA has been around since like the 1990s. Since I've been alive, I've known of the WNBA. However, I've really never known of one player that made it real big. The biggest, popular, most thing I've known about the WNBA was Joanna Man. I think you all remember Joanna Man. So me hearing about Joanna Man for the WNBA wasn't until about this year that I actually heard of women players in the WNBA, and I think we all, if you're like a casual WNBA fan, you probably can agree with that. Um, it was the Angel Reese, and Caitlin Clark. So heard about them this year, and the biggest thing that surprised me about the WNBA is, I never knew about it too much, so I figured their players weren't getting paid the most. But it does surprise me that they say that the WNBA is not profitable. Their players aren't getting paid the most, right? The WNBA isn't profitable, but they've been around 30 years. So somebody is getting paid in the WNBA. And we're going to actually take a look at this CNBC documentary here shortly. And also, I heard all my guys are leaving the workforce. All my guys are supposedly leaving the workforce ages 25 to 50, working ages. Supposedly, we're at like the lowest amount of men in the workforce since the 1950s. So we're going to see what that's about. I got you covered today on the Get the Step In podcast. So first off, let me make sure I'm sounding together and make sure my sound is good. Don't bust out here live. Let's see what's popping. Oh, snap. Hold up. All right, big steppers. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hold on for me 1 second. Of all the craziness I know we got going on with the Diddy stuff and the give me 1 second. That'd be crazy. Diddy and all this other stuff we got going on out here with the politics and Trump. We'll get back into the regular schedule program. I appreciate all you guys that's been tuning in. You guys really been okay, yeah, we sounding good. All right, so yeah, I appreciate you guys been tuning in with all the politics, and, the Diddy stuff and all the other stuff we got going on. But I just wanted to cover this because, like I said, it's been always something that I've thought about from the standpoint of how these, WNBA stars and these WNBA players, they're really good players. You know what I'm saying? They play a lot of games. The league, every athlete dreams of making it to the professional, the most highest form of their sport, which is the professional category. That being said, these women, they're having their dreams come true in one aspect from the standpoint of making it to the league. But supposedly, I believe the average salary for a WNBA player was like around $70,000. So I mean, I think we all know $70,000 isn't a lot if you're going to put your body on the line, and also if you're going to do a lot of traveling away from your family, all these other different things, right? So, all right, we about to get right into it today. I want to go ahead and cover this in the state of the culture segment of things. Also, a big shout out to the Bengals. If you're not tuned in, then that's crazy. Monday Night Football, baby, come on. We're playing the Washington Redskins here in a minute, but today we're about to go ahead and get tuned in here with the WNBA players are broke. Oh man, wait. Wrong one. All right. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right. So this says why the WNBA isn't profitable despite record-breaking year. So it's like if they weren't profitable this year, then like when would they ever be profitable, right? All right. Let's go ahead and check this out. And again, this is CNBC. Shout out to them. Check them out. And yeah, leave a like and let's check it out.
You've probably heard of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese in recent months, two superstar rookie WNBA players who some claim are behind one of the fastest turnarounds in sports league history.
I can't think of a time in my lifetime that I've ever felt that type of movement in the air around you of just, this is happening.
This is something that you dream about, and playing in front of these crowds and these fans is amazing.
Take a look at this chart right here. It shows the WNBA team valuations as of June 2024. The Las Vegas Aces, the reigning champions, are valued at $140 million. Just 3 years ago, the team was bought for $2 million. They won the championship.
Dang, $2 million. And they're valued at 140. I mean, that's just on paper though, right? So
the next year, in 2022, but that's beside the point. The New York Liberty are valued at $130 million. In 2019, the team was reportedly sold for $10 million to Alibaba co-founder Joe Tsai. The team made $2 million in ticket revenue in just one game this season, the most ever of any WNBA team.
Elected officials, corporate, private equity, everybody like, how do I get into the WNBA and how do I invest and can I have an expansion team or can I invest in a current team?
Caitlin Clark signed a $28 million Nike deal before she had even played a professional game. She has also signed with Wilson, the first basketball player to do so since Michael.
So y'all remember when LeBron signed his? Well, I guess I mean, of course, it's going to be different. Hers was like 8 years for $28 million. I remember Bron. I don't believe it was right out of high school though. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I remember his first one that I knew of was like 5 years for like $100 million, something like that. And then he did sign the Nike lifetime contract, but that wasn't after. I think that was after his first deal. I'll fact check myself.
Jordan in 1984. Angel Reese has deals with Reebok, Beats by Dre, Wingstop, Xfinity, and many more. Despite all of this, there's been a lot of talk about the modest earnings of players. Clark's base salary this year is about $76,000. Breanna Stewart, the reigning league MVP or most valuable player, is earning $205,000.
Bro, the Caitlin Clark is supposed to be like a star, and hers is 76,000. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that the average must be lower than 70,000 in, but I don't know. Let's see.
Sure, they can both make more through bonuses or marketing opportunities with the league and can make millions in sponsorship deals. But lots of other athletes get these deals too and still receive a higher salary. For example, this year's #1 NBA draft pick will earn a $12.6 million salary before sponsorship deals.
The comparisons to men's leagues are always tough for a league that's only 28 years old. The NBA is 78 years old. We've got players making significant endorsements who had 0 endorsements back in 2019 when I joined this league. They wouldn't have any of those opportunities if they didn't have this league to play in.
It's easy to look at other leagues and see the multi-million dollars that these folks are getting. We're going to be there one day. It's just continuing the positive progress that we've made and make sure that the sustainability of this league for the future generations
They've been around 28 years.
is still going to be there.
The league's biggest challenge now is making its business model work while players are negotiating for a bigger slice of the pie. A monumental $2.2 billion TV rights deal with Disney, Amazon Prime, and NBC Universal starting in 2026 could change everything. The question is, will it be enough?
All right, so we're about to get into this. I can say real quick, like I said, I don't really watch WNBA. I think people are more so starting to, but like it doesn't really capture my attention. Like they can't dunk, it's just I don't get the same aggression. Like I'm not really a big basketball watcher, to be fair. I'm more like, you know what I'm saying, watching football, boxing, things like that. So but that being said though, there obviously is money in it. So is it one of these things where like the players are just making the lowest amount of money, but the owners are making way more? Because there's money in the sport. They just explained that like back in 2019, they bought a team for $2 million and now it's worth $140 million. That could just be on paper, but I mean, we said we was gonna keep politics out of it, but if Kamala Harris was in office, then I wonder would that be a unrealized capital gains tax for like a sports team? If you have that, that'd be pretty crazy. But sports aside, let's get into the sports. I mean, politics aside, let's get into the sports.
This is Mohegan Sun Arena in Uncasville, Connecticut. Third place Connecticut Sun is playing #1 New York Liberty in the Women's National Basketball Association. It's 11 a.m. on a Wednesday, and the 10,000-seat stadium is nearly full.
There is so much energy
11 a.m. on a Wednesday.
in this arena, no matter what
I wonder why they ain't got a lot of fans, bro. What the hell?
time of day it is.
WNBA is in its 27th season and has never experienced a year quite like this.
I remember where all we wanted was insurance all year round, to seeing where we are.
Coach White has been around the league for 25 years, first as a player and then as a coach. The New York Liberty has 2 national team players on the team, MVP Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu, whose Nike shoe has become one of the most popular sneakers in the market. The home team is loaded with stars too, DeWanna Bonner, Brianna Jones, and Alyssa Thomas. They all played in the WNBA All-Star Game a couple of weeks later, another event that broke records, including in attendance and viewership. Jones is earning $212,000 in 2024. That's a long way from the about $49,000 she made as a rookie in 2017.
From where I started to where I am now, just, I'm proud of that growth that I've made, just, to earn that kind of money.
Still, after the WNBA season is over, Jones goes overseas. often to a league in Europe to play a second season.
You got to think about it, y'all. Like, these are professionals at the top of their league. So you saying 212,000, but that's before taxes. So they're getting taxed, and also when these like athletes, they get taxed in every state they go to. So like their taxes fluctuate, their state taxes fluctuate. So like if they earn a game check in, let's just say, Ohio, and then they earn another game check in, let's just say Missouri, then there's going to be different taxes on those. Whereas like if you're not traveling and all, like, so what I'm saying is they're making 212 on paper, but it could be easily end up being 140 or something like that after taxes, depending on, how savvy she is with her taxes. So she's a professional. So this being said, she's going to want to go and make more money, because if you're a professional, it's like the top of the league. Like, what else do you do after that? Right. Like, I mean, for any other sport, as far as guy sports, I mean, even women tennis are like, things like, I mean, with tennis, you got to be, it's different. But what I'm saying is, it's crazy the amount of effort that they put into it with so little out of it. But at the same time, it's opportunity that they would not even have if the league didn't exist. So it's a double-edged sword. Let's go. Let's keep getting into it.
Mainly to supplement her income.
I'm getting paid to do something that I love year round, and that's great. But as I'm getting older, my body's feeling the constant wear and tear of playing all year round.
Playing overseas has been a lucrative option for WNBA players for decades. Superstars like Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird were some of the first to be rumored to make more than $1 million per season in Europe, often in Russia. Phoenix Mercury star Brittany Griner did it too. She was detained for 293 days for possession of medical marijuana. Roughly half of the league's 144 players played in a second league in the winter of 2024.
We're never going to tell players what to do. Never going to tell them not to go overseas if that's what they want to do
crazy
for them and their family. But, if you look at the 10, 11, 12th player on the bench who doesn't get a lot of playing time in the WNBA, wants to make a roster the following year, they probably need to go play in the offseason in some league.
Playing an entire year without a break is very strenuous on the body and can increase the risk for serious injuries. That ultimately shortens a player's career. On top of it, the WNBA training camp starts at the end of April, but some European leagues aren't finished by then. This year, a highly debated prioritization rule kicked in. If a player missed any time with their WNBA team, they're ineligible for the season and forfeit their salary.
If you're trying to build a legitimate sports media entertainment property and players aren't there for the first month, I mean, the owner saw that. This happened well before I came in the door here.
Your competitors will wish they had known about Vibe. With Vibe, you can launch targeted.
That makes sense, right? Like, I get that, but this is actually crazy so far. But they're playing a whole year.
In 1996,
This
the
is
NBA
like-
and its then commission.
This is like how the NFL was when it first started, when they had the Leatherheads. Like, they were making like, $20,000 putting their life on the line. You still put your life on the line with sports when it's standpoint of basketball. Basketball can get real very fast. So that being said, you want to make sure, you're making the most amount of money possible and not playing every single day. Two different leagues, like they have offseason for a reason. They're not even getting offseason in WNBA. That's crazy.
Commissioner David Stern launched a women's league, the WNBA. The men's league was going through a huge boom with Michael Jordan at the helm, and a women's league played in the summertime would provide a full year of basketball and would also help grow the sport internationally. The NBA and its owners would own the WNBA.
It survived because of the great support the NBA has given it over many years. So there's a reason why the WNBA is the longest tenured women's professional sports league in the country. Think about this, by double any other.
WNBA team owners received 50% stake in 2002. In 2022, the league raised $75 million from a group of investors, the league's first ever outside investment and the largest in women's sports history. They received 16% stake in return, leaving only 42% left for WNBA and its owners.
What made you decide to do that? How did that come about?
Coming into 2021, we hired a banker, and I said, I really need capital because I need people. I need people to grow this business. I need marketing. And so we started deploying it immediately, did a digital transformation, hired some outside consultants. It'll be viewed in hindsight as a smart move to have done what we did.
But this also means only 42% of national level revenue, like TV and sponsorship deals, trickles down to the WNBA owners. The remaining goes to the NBA and its owners.
But that's so crazy. Like, think about that. Like, the NBA and the NFL. Like, think about if the NFL had to pay somebody else. They're already having a hard time paying their star athletes in every organization that you look at. They're not really having a hard time, but there's always a battle that goes on, right? So imagine having to take 50% of your profits, automatically slash it, give it to somebody else, and then come back and still have to pay, your athletes, but actually it's less than 50%, it's 42%, and still got to pay your athletes. But then those athletes, think about, they're getting the bottom of the barrel, because best believe the people that's, at the top of the food chain from the standpoint of, in the general managers, the owners, vice presidents, they're making player salary plus, double player salary. Like they're probably making way more money is what I'm saying than the players themselves, which is it's crazy to think about.
5 of which are also WNBA owners and the outside investor group. The current TV deal is worth about
But what else do you do? If you're a woman that's growing up, you got, you athletically gifted when it comes to, sports, basketball. Like, what else do you do? Like, do you not strive to be the best because you think you're not going to get paid more? But I do feel like in the next 20 years, they'll be making way more money. But even still, in comparison, if they made $100 million, they'll still be making, only $42 million because they're only bringing in 42% of that. So that's a little discouraging for the young woman growing up playing, basketball.
$60 million in 2024. Only about $2 million of that goes to each team.
Damn.
NBA owners and the outside investor group. The current TV deal is worth about $60 million in 2024. Only about $2 million of that goes to each team.
I think the WNBA, if they had foreseen this kind of growth that was ahead, they would maybe take an alternative path and selling 16% of.
Yeah. Because when you that's the thing about giving away percentage of a company. If take you right now, right? You got a company, you got a startup. In the beginning phase, what do you need most? Everybody, right? They want money. That's what you want most. In the beginning stage of any business, capital is what you're going to want. Capital is what you need to build your business. Now, the only thing is you got a few different ways to get that capital. Either you can bootstrap it, which means you do what you do, make the most of the resources that you have, get resources, invest it right back into the business. Your business make money, you invest it right back into the business. You keep investing into the business until the business invests back into you, bootstrapping it, right? Or you can go out, take out a credit line, right? You get a credit line, maybe you build up, you got some other sources of income, you got your credit together, you know what I'm saying? You got a nice credit score, you borrow against the business, you got an LLC in place, then your business is getting credit. So it kind of depends on your personal credit score, but not so much. But either way, what I'm saying is now you're borrowing against your business credit, you're leveraging the capital that you get there. So now you got to make these monthly payments. You got to, just make the monthly payments from the standpoint, you still own 100% of the pie. In both of those scenarios. The third scenario, when you do get an investor, because the idea is you want somebody to, to invest into your business, you can get that money overnight. But the only thing is, I feel like people don't recognize the importance of that until the money start coming in. It's of course, if you, give away 20% of your business and you're taking $500,000, you like, shit, I'm getting $500,000. You know what I'm saying? 20% ain't nothing. But then once you get, $1 million and, 200,000 go off the top to somebody else who didn't have to go, put the work in for that million. Just hopefully you don't think like that, because that's the easy way to start thinking once the money start coming in, because it's like, damn, I got taxes. I got to pay your 20% before I pay my taxes. So it's just like all these different things start adding up, and you like, was that 500,000 that you took, was it really worth it? Or like whatever you took, was it really worth it when you look back at it from the standpoint of it looks good up front, but when you take away the whole piece of the pie, it's almost better to bootstrap it or get a line of credit instead of give up equity. That's like the last resort. I mean, even though it's because then just do you trust the people you're giving up equity to? But obviously it depends on what kind of decisions. Like, are they getting decision-making power? They're invested into the business. So now do they have a seat at the board? Which most likely they do. So you got to make sure you trust that person. It's a lot of things that get into sticky situations when you take money from people outside of real estate. Real estate is like the easiest thing to get money from people, right? Not to get too far left field, but the good thing about using other people's money when it comes to real estate is that their money is secured by the asset itself, right? So there's no subjective things that can really go into it. Maybe you can go a little bit over the rehab budget, but it depends on if you're getting a rehab loan, right? Because you get a rehab loan and then you get a loan to actually buy the property. If you're just getting a loan to buy the property, meaning that you having somebody else spend, $100,000 to actually buy the property, and then you're coming in and fixing up the property, then they really don't have too much say so, because at the end of the day, their $100,000 is tied up in the equity of the property itself. So it's it makes it clear as day, right? Whereas if somebody invests into your business, it makes it way more sticky, because now they can decide on what they think will be profitable. But make sure you decide, what their powers are. Do they have the power to think, or just stay as the financier? You just stay as the money person. different roles.
Of this league. The WNBA will tell you that the $75 million kind of growth that was ahead, they would maybe take an alternative path and selling 16% of this league. The WNBA will tell you that the $75 million of capital that came into the league allowed them to take advantage of this incredible moment in time they had by beefing up marketing staff, increasing headcount across the board.
Local revenue, on the other hand, from tickets to parking to concessions to
and that makes perfect sense, right? Like, because you got to have money to take control of moments. Like, make the most out of opportunity. If you don't have any money to make the most out of it, then it's like, what are you doing? It's like when COVID happened back in 2020 or whatever. When that happened, the stocks, that AMC stock or whatever stocks was tripping during that time. There was a lot of things that was tripping during that time. A lot of opportunity during that time when it comes to Bitcoin and a lot of stuff. If you had the money, then you could be able to, if you had the money on hand, you'd be able to fully seize the moment. And arguably, if you didn't have that money, then you wouldn't be able to seize the moment. So giving up the equity was worth it.
To local media rights are kept with each individual team.
Really, they need to make their money on the local level. And there's a huge disparity in from the top to the bottom, much more so than you see in the other sports leagues.
In 2024, the WNBA is estimated to bring in $200 million in revenue. Just for comparison, the NBA is expected to earn $13 billion. The WNBA has historically lost around $10 million per season.
Some estimates have said that the league is going to lose about $50 million. Is there a scenario that you will try to raise more money right now?
Probably not. We probably don't need to raise capital like we.
It's not that big of a deal though. Like, y'all know Tesla doesn't make money. Feel me? Like, a lot of companies don't make. That's actually a weird thing. That's what I've noticed about like a lot of Fortune 500 companies, especially like the newer they are. And like new is different. And if you're starting an LLC or a company right now, a startup, 2 years in, you want to consider yourself still new, right? But at year 5, you want to be like, all right, I'm 5 years in, I ain't really new, right? When it comes to these big corporations, at year 20, they're still new because you got companies like, I don't know, you got companies that's been around for a long time. My mind was just escaping me, but all right, so you got companies like Coca-Cola, just a lot of companies that's been around for a long time. And then in specifically the tech era, you got a Google, you got a lot of companies that's been around for a long time. Let's stick there.
We did back when I came in 2020, started assessing raising capital, but I think it's more about the impact we're able to have on bringing in corporate partners at valuations that are worthy of now our viewership, our attendance. And I think corporates are seeing that, wow, if I want to get with a consumer brand and a growth property, and I want to get to women and women of color, we're 80% women of color, WNBA might be a place where I would allocate my discretionary capital.
Yo, take that back. The Google was made in 1998, bro. So take that back. It's different than tech companies in like a whole organization, though. But damn, Google was made in 1998. That's really quick. Like let's not get lost.
I'm not sure if we didn't raise that capital, I'm not sure we would have been ready for this moment.
They are in growth mode right now. And if you're a fast-growing tech company, your revenues are going through the roof. You might be losing more money than ever. You had never had a WNBA team with their own practice facility. And here we have the Phoenix Mercury, Matt Ishbia, opening up a $100 million facility. The Las Vegas Aces, Mark Davis was the first to do it.
There was a moment there where I really thought I was going to pass out.
This is Jess Smith, the president of Golden State Valkyries, the first WNBA expansion team since 2008. The San Francisco team will start playing in 2025. Toronto and Portland will be added to the league in 2026. Valkyries have already signed 15,000 season ticket deposits, the most in women's sports history. Pressure is high. The team paid $50 million just to join the league. The men's team, which is owned by the same family, has won 4 NBA championships in the past decade.
I really do consider pressure a privilege. We have big aspirations to be part of that financial upside of showing what's possible, not only with the number of seats that we have, but being really intentional about the experiences that we create.
But Smith says it's important not to compare the WNBA with the NBA, salaries or otherwise. They are inherently different products, she says.
the lifespan of the leagues, the number of teams, the number of athletes, the broadcast deals. It's just a different moment in time. In fact, when you do rewind to where the NBA was at the same moment in time for the W, they're more comparable. And so I think it's important to take note of that and to be aggressive, but charge our own path forward. That also doesn't mean we have to wait for things, but it does mean that we need time to grow.
But that time may be coming sooner than later. On July 24, 2024, the league signed an explosive 11-year, $2.2 billion media rights deal with Disney, Amazon Prime, and NBC, set to start in 2026.
This is historic. It's never been done before. As media companies look at it, they're looking at those household names, those rivalries, those games of consequence. We have our playoffs coming up. They all love the playoffs. So they're paying now a much more right-sized value for our IP, which is called the WNBA, and its players and the product they put on the court.
When we look at player salaries, people wonder, why are NBA player salaries 100 times higher than WNBA salaries? Because the TV money was 100 times higher in the NBA than it was in the WNBA.
TV money was higher.
Most sports leagues have a union that advocates on behalf of its players, negotiates salary caps, maximum and minimum salaries, benefits, and the way league revenue is split. That contract is called a collective bargaining agreement. The current CBA between the WNBA and the WNBPA was signed in 2020.
There are times where I was like, I look at the NBA and there's men that are, making 10 times, 20 times, what I'm making. It's tough to see that inequality and knowing that, on paper we're kind of, equal.
Jones' teammate Alyssa Thomas is arguably one of the top 3 players in the league. She makes the most of anyone on the Connecticut Sun. Still, only $218,000. She too plays in Europe in the offseason.
The opportunity is there to make money over there. Of course, in the CBA, they've tried to prevent it and, make you fined or suspended if you're late to the W, but I found value in overseas. I've been able to develop my game over there, and making 2 salaries in a year, why not, while my body is still in great shape. I'm just
2 salaries in a year. So why not when my body's still in great shape?
trying to take advantage of that.
The current CBA was a big step up from the prior, at least from the player's perspective. Top players can earn up to $500,000 in cash compensation between salary, marketing opportunities, and merit bonuses. The maximum base salary is $241,984, but only 3 players make that right now.
So players have the ability to make a fair amount, especially we're a 4.5, 5 month season. You want to have a league for these players to hand off to the next generation of players. So that's why we've been very careful. It's hard to get younger players and others to focus on, there's actually a business here that has to sustain itself. And yes, we absolutely want to return more to the players.
The contract runs through 2027, but there's an option to opt out by November 2024. The union is expected to do so.
This is not going to be unexpected at all. We've done things to return to the players outside of collective bargaining, like a charter program. That's collectively bargained. We couldn't afford it back in 2020. Now we can. 53% increase in playoff bonuses. And we want to work side by side with the players, and we want to return more to the players.
One debated topic that is anticipated to come up in CBA negotiations is how much of league revenue the WNBA will share with its players. The NBA, for example, gives its players 50% of all basketball-related revenues.
Wow.
For the WNBA,
all right, I think the NBA is way higher than the NFL.
It works very differently. It only shares half of what is called incremental revenue. Basically, once it reaches its preset revenue target, and it has to be 20% more than the year prior, only then do the players get half of that incremental income. Let's say the WNBA made its revenue target $1 million in 2023. It would have to make at least $1.2 in 2024, 20% more. If it does, only that $200,000 is split with the players. These are made.
This sounds like the last place I used to work at. No cap. They used to do something like this. They had to meet their target before you got paid, even though you was the one putting in the work. Like that's crazy, bro. That's absolutely crazy. This is crazy for these athletes it's crazy.
Made up numbers, of course, since the revenue target is undisclosed.
Tell me why the revenue target or this unique sort of structure was set up to begin with.
Yeah, we were just surviving back then. We had no ability to, given the losses. We had low attendance. We didn't have a lot of merch sales. We didn't have a lot of viewership. We didn't have a media deal worthy of what we're going to have now in 26 and beyond. So it's all just a business model. And so as we get into the next round of negotiating, I'm sure that's on the table.
As of April 2024, the target revenue had not been reached.
Do you expect to reach that revenue target this year?
Probably not the way it was designed based on a CAGR. So what that means, a cumulative average growth rate. And because if you looked at the prior year, especially COVID year, 2 COVID years, it's tough.
This entire deal was struck just before COVID hit. And that totally decimated the economics of just about every sports league. And what propped up really the other sports leagues is those national TV contracts, because the game still went on. The WNBA didn't have that massive TV deal they could fall back on.
We would like to see that number go up, but also I think in the right way. I think it doesn't need to just go to salaries. What does that look like? Like because we now have chartered flights and things like that, and you're adding teams and things like that. So yes, we like to see this number go up, but we also want to see the league grow and improve.
We go ahead and start trying to snap our fingers.
You got to be a team player, huh? That's what they telling the players. Which, I mean, that's the only way that league will improve, because they only get 42% of all of the revenue that they bring in. But at the same time, in order to get to the point that they had to take, the NBA birthed them. They supported them all this time. So, got to give up that. And then the 75 million, I guess that helped them with their digital media. So interesting. It's an interesting position.
Tomorrow, and all of a sudden the current roster of WNBA players are getting 50% of league revenues like their NBA brethren. What type of financial position does this put the league in? And I think any of us that are following players are getting 50%.
Go up, but we also want to see the league grow and improve.
We go ahead and start trying to snap our fingers tomorrow, and all of a sudden the current roster of WNBA players are getting 50% of league revenues like their NBA brethren. What type of financial position does this put the league in? And I think any of us that are following this, we'd rather see these players still have opportunities to play on WNBA teams rather than see the league go defunct because they were too aggressive.
It's been the reason that we've been able to sustain 27 years. And now we are getting to the point where there's more marketing, there's more influx of funds coming into the W, and then that will allow for the next level of salaries.
But while the league is going through immense growth, it is also facing some growing pains. In an interview with CNBC, Engelbert's response to a question about what the league is doing to prevent racism and hate speech as it relates to its star rookies Clark and Reese sparked a heated debate among players and fans alike.
It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals.
Controversy sells, huh?
They don't want everybody being nice to one another.
Wait, did she just say that?
Games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another.
In a letter to the players, the commissioner said, "I regret that I didn't express in a clear and definitive way condemnation of the hateful speech that is all too often directed at WNBA players on social media." With so much at stake, the WNBPA has put together a 5-person advisory committee to help with the upcoming CBA negotiations. Once signed, it'll go into effect for the 2026 season. By then, 2 more teams will have joined, and the new TV rights deal will have flushed the league with some much-needed cash. The question is, will it be enough?
We're looking forward to sitting down with the union, with that advisory group of owners and players across the table. We'll be in listening mode, and I know a little more now about the economic model and how we need to sustain it. But look, we're in a great place, and we look forward to sitting down with the players.
Are you at all worried or nervous about 2026 and beyond, the expectations of it and living up to that and being able to capitalize on all this immense growth?
When you have a lot of people calling you to invest in your teams or your league, it's a really good sign that people want to put capital in what they view as a growth business.
Yeah, man. I think it's I guess it's all take time. That's what I got from that. I honestly didn't know too much about the WNBA. I just was always pretty interested about it as far as, they put a lot of effort in as far as, training, working your whole life to make your dream come true. Then when your dream comes true, it's like, are you being fairly compensated? Does the amount of effort that you're putting in, the amount of work that you're putting in match the result and the payout? I think that's an important question to ask, but the women that's playing, they obviously already answered that question. They understand that the leaps and hurdles and the bounds that the league still has to go through. I just thought this was something that was interesting. I've been seeing it on my YouTube timeline for some time now. I'm like, yo, let's go to check this out. I saw some stuff with this Diddy stuff today too, but we're gonna get into that soon. I'm about to go ahead and check out this other video for you guys. With you guys, I want to check this. It said men are leaving the workforce. I know it's a few of my guys out right now just left work, they about to get ready for work or they going into work right now. So apparently it's a few men out there that's just not working at all. You guys are just kicking it, 25 years old, just doing nothing with your life. That's crazy. So we're going to see what they're talking about. Let's check this out right now. Replace. All right. So I'm hearing to all my fellow brethrens out there that you niggas is leaving the workforce. What y'all doing? Now let's see what's popping, yo. Pretty interesting. CNBC, another one, and let's go ahead and tap in right now.
Men have been steadily dropping out of the workforce, especially men aged 25 to 54, who are often considered to be in their prime working years.
25 to 54, that's crazy.
As of August 2024, 13.7% of prime age men were not working, compared to just 7.2% in 1954.
The long-term decline in labor force participation by so-called prime age men is a tremendous worry for our society, for our economy, and probably also for our political system.
There's a surplus of prime age workers who could be working and aren't, and that's this puzzling problem.
The unemployment rate for prime age working men sat at 3.4% in August 2024. This number primarily includes those who are unemployed and looking for a job. But about 10.5% of men in their prime working years, or roughly 6.8 million men nationwide, are neither working nor looking for employment, compared to just 2.
Look, I was an entrepreneur with no pay, y'all. Some say I was laid off, still took no days off. Knew those days would pay off. You're hearing this is the payoff. Check this out. I'm wondering if they include entrepreneurs inside this percentage, because that's a real thing. Like, I was an entrepreneur with no pay. So, I mean, some say I was laid off, but it's like, is that a real... Are they including entrepreneurs with no pay?
5%
fly away coming soon.
In 1954.
What's surprising is it's not a COVID phenomenon. It's not a recession phenomenon.
And for every prime age man who is unemployed and looking for a job, there are more than 3, in some years 4, who are neither working nor looking for work.
So what's driving men out of the workforce? And if left unchecked, what impact will it have on the U.S. economy? Nearly half of prime age men out of the workforce cited obsolete skills, lack of education and training, poor work record, or security issues as a reason preventing them from work.
Education is a very important predictor of a prime age man's odds of being out of the labor force.
The big impacts are on the non-college educated groups on their ability to enter and stay in the labor market.
Men who are not college educated leave the workforce at higher rates than men who are. At the same time, fewer younger men have been
let's just kind of let's see this part
enrolling in college over the past decade.
If you look at the geography,
real quick, why do you think that is? Why do you think more men without a degree, more men leave the workforce than men with a degree? I just had a real quick theory. My quick theory on it is, like, I guess we really have to determine if we're talking about entrepreneurs or not. But my quick theory on it is that if you have a degree, then you've invested years, time, energy into getting that degree, which if you are blessed enough to get a degree and also be working in your field of that degree, I mean, that's the American dream, at least in like the 1950s and 60s, right? Like, not even trying to be funny, but like, that's what the American principles were founded on. Go to college, go to school, get a degree, whatever field that you're in with that degree, go work your job with that, right? We all know that in the modern day, that just hasn't been the case, especially since the 2008 recession, right? Like, when that happened and when a lot of things happened, it really devalued the school system in my book, right? So, like, I think you guys are, if you're a little bit familiar with me, I dropped out of college. I'm a college dropout. I played football. That's mainly the reason why I went to college. Once I stopped loving football, then I, went and started figuring out how to make money. And then that's when I figured out about wholesaling real estate, and then the rest is kind of history. So that being said, my mindset when it comes to college, I didn't see that college didn't equal money for me, right? So, like, for me, college didn't equal money. It didn't equal, like, I went to college, I got a degree, and then I went and applied to all these jobs, and they were so impressed by my resume, and that I got a degree, and that I went to this school, and that, like, that just wasn't how life shaped out for me. And I feel like that's story right there is becoming a lot more common, especially because the success barriers aren't the same. Whereas you have the internet. 30, 40 years ago, there was no internet, right? So the success barrier was that of going and getting that interview and being the best interviewee, being, you know, all corporate and being just a whole different kind of vibe. The crazy part is in our lifetime, that vibe still exists, being in the older generation and being in the mentality of those younger, of the younger generation who were around that kind of success, if they saw success look like, right? So if you were young, if you're like my age and like you saw success look like with your parents, they went to school, they became, you know, let's just say lawyers, right? So they went to school, got their law degree, and they became lawyers, now they're successful. You're going to be more prone to follow those footsteps because you saw an example of success right there. Whereas somebody like me, I didn't see that type of example of success. I've seen people go to college and not use their degree or be working in something where it's like you didn't technically need a degree, but you still found happiness. And I feel like that's the biggest difference as far as somebody like me. My biggest thing is, you know, what makes you happy and also what provides income, because, you know, what are you able to invest back into? So that's just how my mind shaped out, you know, from being a 19-year-old college dropout, which, like I said, I primarily only went to college just for the sake of for football. Like once I stopped loving football, there was no need for me to be in college in my head. That being said, that's how my mindset shaped out, because I never wanted to be quote unquote in a regular, you know, position. So when I include regular, like to step a few back, to take a few steps back, I'll be curious if they're talking about entrepreneurial positions and also if they're talking about sales, right? Because if you're talking about sales, for one, you don't need a degree to work in sales. If you do have a degree to work in sales, I will be like, my biggest thing is like, why, right? And I think that's just somebody that's, if you're maybe watching this, if you do have a degree and you wish to be in a sales position, it depends on what kind of sales position you're looking to get into, right? Because there's all kind of different sales positions. But the biggest factor, like, in this day and age, we have the internet. And I think like the mentality will switch in the next 20 years as the next 30, 40 years ago, as that generation kind of becomes older and less relevant. If you were born 30, 40 years ago, no offense to you, much love to you. But what I'm saying is 40 years from now, you're going to be less relevant. Like you're going to be ancient when it comes to technology. When it comes like 40, 50-year-olds right now, they be looking at their phone like, how did you do that? How did you, like, think about them in the next 20 or 30, 40 years, right? Think about them in the next 20, 40 years. They're going to be ancient when it comes to technology. And I think that right now, the emphasis that's put on technology when it comes to barriers of success and knocking down those barriers of success, that emphasis is not put on us a lot by those, you know, who may be 30, 40 years ago born, because they haven't really seen how it never impacted their life from a personal point of view. School is how they seen levels of success, right? Now, things are changing, and I feel like things are changing really quickly, right? And I think people are noticing that. Like now you got 70-year-old grandmothers who are on, you know what I'm saying, social media, and they're noticing the power of social media, and they're noticing the power of the internet. You can learn, you can literally teach yourself anything on the internet these days. And like, I'm not going to say anything. Like, I feel like school, in my head, it's important for things that you need a certificate for. So you need like a certificate to become a lawyer. Like you can't just be out here practicing law. You're going to be like one of those scammers. You need a certificate to become a doctor. You need a certificate to become those kind of fields, right? So if you're working in those kind of fields, I feel like school is really important. If you're looking to get in sales in this day and era, you might want to save yourself the money and go right into sales. You want to save yourself that money and time, because right now, time is the best fact. If you're under 30 years old, bro, time is the best asset that you have, right? You may ain't got the most money. You may ain't got, you know, the most connections yet, but you have the most time to be able to make the most money and be able to put the effort in to make those connections and be able to put the effort in to put yourself in position to benefit from a compound effect. So if you're under 30 years old, that's your best asset, more than your piece of paper, being more than your college diploma. If you have a college diploma in business and this, you have to figure out what do you want to use it, right? You got to put the time in and figure out how are you going to use it. And then once you put the time in and figure out how you're going to use it, guess what? Then you got to put the time in to use it. Because the only way you really learn business is by doing business. You don't learn business by going to school and doing hypothetical scenarios. You learn it by actually getting into it, doing it, trial and error, or having somebody by your side being like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Let me run this by you. You went through something like this? These are the ways that you learn. But the thing is, it's like a setup, because in our society, you need to have most times some kind of experience to get a high level job, right? I feel like school, again, is good for high level jobs. If you're like a high level vice president marketing of sales or something like that, right? Then they're going to look for you to have a degree, for one. And then for two, when it comes to you being in that, like, you can't be in that position without having a degree. However, you don't need a position to be at the base level. And you oftentimes you can, I mean, but you got to know who I am, right? So I'm talking from an entrepreneurial perspective. I'm talking for somebody who didn't see the value in the degree, who didn't reap the value from a degree, who didn't put that effort in to get one, right? Like, let's just be black. I didn't put the effort in to get one. I don't know what the value of a degree is because I didn't get one, but I can say that I'm happy in my life and I'm happy with everything that I chose, but that's just me. Everybody's story didn't work out that way. Some people chose not to get a degree and they're trying to figure out what they're doing, which is why they're going to be more likely to leave the workforce quicker than somebody who took the time in, got that degree, and being able to get a job in the degree that they have. Which if that's what you did, man, kudos to you, because honestly, that's the name of the game. That's why you go to school. But oftentimes, like I said, in this day and age, people get degrees and they're not working in the field that they actually took that time and paid for that degree in. All right, let's run this back. I know we're 2 minutes in. I went on a little rant. I know, but let's go ahead and run this back. I had to break that down because that's like a major difference. And I feel like this was they're probably include it if they're talking about entrepreneurs and stuff in here. I think they'll include that. We still got 10 minutes left, y'all. My bad. I just ran into it. Come here for the details, bro.
Of where the
Men who are not college
on their ability to enter and stay in the labor market.
Men who are not college educated leave the workforce at higher rates than men who are. At the same time, fewer younger men have been enrolling in college over the past decade.
If you look at the geography of where the most prime age men out of the labor force are in particular, they tend to be in places that have experienced manufacturing declines. They used to graduate with a high school education and have good, stable jobs. They weren't glamorous jobs. They were, automobile factories, sometimes mines, other manufacturing jobs, but they were respected, they were stable, and they could support a family. Since then, due to technology-driven growth, a little bit due to Chinese competition, you've had a lot of manufacturing firms and the places where they were located that were one-horse towns become ghost lands, right?
Wages could also be a contributing factor. Median annual wages for men with a high school diploma have fallen from just over $57,600 in 1973 to $45,000 in 2023, adjusted for inflation. At the same time, wages for those with a bachelor's degree or more have increased by about $6,300 during the same period. This decline in earnings led to a 44% growth in the exit rate of men without a college degree from the workforce between 1980 and 2019.
I think, honestly, status plays more of a role than wages. As I said before, you had a manufacturing job, it was respected, you were part of a community, breadwinner for your family, you had organizations like unions or Rotary clubs that surrounded your job, and that's gone.
In general, men without children are also less likely to participate in the workforce compared to men with children, especially men without education or training after high school.
What we have seen is a huge rise in the proportion of prime-age men who've never been married, and a very, very significant decline in the proportion who are currently married and have kids at home. And
think about that. Like your habits are going to be different, right? If you're a prime age man, 25 to 54, you're going to be taking more risk if you don't have dependents, if you don't have a wife, if you don't have kids. Because I feel like as men, we don't really get our full time to experience life until we're detached from everything else. When I say detached from everything else, I mean detached from dependence. As a man, you can't live your life fully if you got a wife or if you got a kid to answer to, right? Because that's what you're doing. You answer to them. You can't just, if you're a man watching this and you got a wife, try to just get up right now. If you and your wife are just like right there, like by each other, get up right now and just leave for like 3 hours and just be like, all right, I'm out. I'm bye. You're not saying where you going. You gone for 3 hours. You're not answering your phone. You're doing whatever you want to do. See how that fares for you and your family dynamic. Like, it's going to be a whole big thing. Like, it's going to be, where were you at? What are you doing? Why are you leaving? You sneaky. Da-da-da. On the flip side, if you're a woman, do the same thing. Your man going to be tripping a little bit too, depending on who he is, depending on what he's doing. But that being said, the fact remains, as a man, you're able to take more risk in life and at least do more so and strive to do what you really want to do when you don't have dependents. Once you get those kids and once you get a wife, especially like having a wife or in a relationship, like depending on the dynamics, it's like having another parent, right? Because you have somebody to answer to. Like, I'm at the stage of my life, I don't want nobody to answer to. Like, I like doing what I want, when I want, and how I want to. So it's just like, that being said, when it comes to having those kids, you also have to make sure you provide for them. So like you can't really you less likely to take certain risks, right? So like as an entrepreneur, speaking from my perspective, you can't have too many months without making money as an entrepreneur. If you have a whole family, if you have a whole kids, it's like you got to make sure shit is together from the standpoint of being able to have consistent income coming in or a reoccurring source of income. You have to make sure you have these things together if you're going to be a family, a head of household type, right? So if you want to be that type of stuff, then you got to make sure you got everything together. Whereas if you're a single person out there, you can, hey, I'm tired of this job. I'm about to get another one. I got like 3 months saved up. Let me go get another job. Like you can go do that if you don't have dependents. You got, all right, I got my rent paid, got everything I need. All right, I'll get another job if I need to. All right, forget this job. I'm about to start my business. I'm about to do this. I'm about to do that. You can do more is what I'm saying. So if there's a decline of men that want to be locked down and want to be in a relation, that's just really think about social media. I feel like social media is the biggest contributor to men leaving the workforce because everybody wants to be an entrepreneur these days, right? Like entrepreneur isn't like not even it's glorified because it's a lot of work and you get at least like think about this. Trump right now, for people that work overtime, they're going to get paid and tax-free if Trump gets elected for overtime work. As an entrepreneur, you don't get paid for overtime work, bro. So when you don't get paid, you don't really know when your next check is coming if you don't have shit lined up how it's supposed to be. There's so many downsides to being an entrepreneur that the only upsides, you see the upsides on social media. You see the few upsides, right? The few upsides of being an entrepreneur is freedom and the money when it hits and when you get a lot of money, right? So you see the freedom that you get because the freedom is like the best thing of being an entrepreneur. That's just no cap. The freedom, because you make all the money in the world, but if you're tied down to a schedule, if you're tied down to like a cubicle, like, bro, no, it doesn't make sense. There's not enough money in the world that makes you just want to sit down in a cubicle for 10 hours a day. Not enough. That being said, when it comes to freedom, that's the biggest pro of entrepreneurship. But when it comes to the consistency of pay factor, that can be the biggest con or pro depending on how you got your everything lined up, right? If you got it lined up, it's the biggest pro because you can possibly be paid every day as an entrepreneur. You can pay multiple times a day as an entrepreneur, right? But it can be the biggest con if you don't have everything lined up because you also can go multiple days, weeks, months, shit, years without getting paid as an entrepreneur if you don't have your bearings in order. So that's just something to think about for you guys, you know what I'm saying, on whatever life that you're choosing right now. Like, choose that. You got to understand that. Once you get those dependents, bro, stuff got to change a little bit. Got to change a little bit, or you need to make sure stuff is in line. Got to be in line way more.
Those two trends track a huge rise in the proportion of prime age men who've never been married, and a very, very significant decline in the proportion who are currently married and have kids at home. And those two trends track closely with the big changes that we've seen about male attachment in the labor force. Correlation isn't always causation, but looking at that correspondence is real important, I think.
Meanwhile, 57% of the roughly 10% of men not looking for work said their physical or mental health was the main reason for not being employed, with 55% citing a disability, serious illness, and or receiving disability benefits.
The whole question about the health and the mental health of male workforce dropouts is an extremely important and I think concerning one. Distressing proportion of the men who are out of the workforce say they're using pain medications every day.
Was using pain meds on a daily. I know I need to get used to
a 2017 research paper estimates that an increase in opioid prescription between 1999 to 2015 led to about 43% of the decline in men's labor force participation rate during that period.
So then you have to ask, what sort of pain are we talking about? Are we talking about physical pain? Are we talking about metaphysical pain? There's an enormous amount of depression, mental health challenges that men in this grouping face. Some of this is a chicken and egg question. Did you drop out because you were feeling sad? Or are you sad because you dropped out and you're...
Oh my God, the chicken and the egg, which came first, right? Like, I thought about that with my last work situation. I got hurt, like, when I was at the job. I'm like, did I get hurt because I was at the job, or I got hurt at the job? Like, which one happened first? I don't know, but it just was a crazy thing. But that's neither here nor there.
Living on the couch.
Unemployment is really
of depression, mental health challenges that men in this grouping face. Some of this is a chicken and egg question. Did you drop out because you were feeling sad, or are you sad because you dropped out and you're living on the couch?
Unemployment is really terrible for people's well-being. Often people adapt to all kinds of negative shocks, losing a kid, being widowed, whatever, and eventually kind of come back. But long-term unemployment is one of the worst things in terms of that. So what you have is a kind of scarring effect, and it's worse for men because their identity is much more wrapped up in their role as a worker.
Men's declining workforce participation can potentially leave a lasting impact on the
As a man, if you are to the point that your mental health causes you not to work, then we got to really figure out what our priorities are in life. And I feel like that's what I go back to. Like I said, this isn't a political stream, but everything kind of got politics in it. I do have empathy, right? Like, but go back to accountability aspect. If your mental health is stopping you from providing for yourself, and you can't, like, as a man, that's one of our gifts, is to be able to, you know, we like waffles, right? Like, we can be able to separate A and B. We can separate these things. Women like spaghetti. Everything is mixed up in one. If we can't separate, you know, what we need to do versus what we want to do and what we got to do, major differences, right? And as an entrepreneur, I can tell you it becomes way more challenging. I just kind of mentioned about me getting hurt, right? Like, when I was hurt, I was at a, 9 to 5. I was at a job. So that's what I was talking about, like what happened first, right? Because if I was an entrepreneur during that time, the amount of mental agony that I went through trying to get back, and like I just couldn't walk for like 3.5 months, y'all. Like, my whole thing is get to stepping. That comes from me working out, just my whole lifestyle, right? Just get to stepping. But me not being able to walk, it like took my mind for like 3.5, 4 months. I just was on autopilot mode, bro. Like, just in the moment I was able to walk again, like literally like a week after I was able to walk again, I quit the job and I'm like, I'm back stepping again. So what I'm saying is, being able to compartmentalize is easier said than done. And I understand that. I do understand that, especially if you're an entrepreneur. But I also understood that I had to get up and I had to work. So it took me like so long to wake up in the morning. Like, I was just mentally, I was exhausted, bro. Like, I was like, I'm talking about to get from my bed to my bathroom took like 20-25 minutes. Like, just in the morning, waking up and then having to be at work at 7:45 a.m. and not leave until 5:15 p.m. in one place, bro. I was like, I never had to do that as an adult. Like, I've been an entrepreneur since 19. And then when I first was an entrepreneur, it was since 21. 20 full-time and then 21. But that being said, that year stint of me working, like, I was moving around, I was out. This was in a cubicle. So I was sitting down for like 8 hours a day, bro. Like, it was crazy. 8-9 hours a day. And then like after work, there was other. So what I'm saying is, I still was able to provide for myself. I just don't know if I would have been able to do it as an entrepreneur, because as an entrepreneur, there's so much that happens, and being able to have other people around, especially if you're already mentally going through things, was like, that was the thing that was the plus for me. I was able to have people around. I was able to talk to people. So I was able to get out of my head and all the stuff that I really was going through with me just being not able to move and not able to work. So what I'm saying is, if you as a man can't compartmentalize knowing that I might be going through some mental stuff, but bills are still due, like, then I just don't get it. I don't understand it. You have to be able to do that. We have to. It goes back to the other. Actually, I've said this isn't a political stream. I'm not getting political, so I'm not talking about that. What I'm saying is, bro, get to stepping.
American economy.
It means slower growth of the economy, obviously. It means bigger wealth gaps within our society.
It certainly will have an impact on our productivity, and probably already is.
The U.S. has been experiencing a severe shortage in labor, still missing 1.7 million Americans from the workforce compared to February 2020. The McKinsey Global Institute estimates that U.S. GDP could have been $296 to $442 billion higher in 2023 if the country had been able to fill its job vacancies. However, some experts suggest the impacts of men leaving or never entering the workforce could be more sector-specific.
You need young men coming in wanting to replace those people going out. And so if men have primarily been in more manual labor, more blue-skilled and skilled trades, if they're older and they're leaving in their retirement and there's not as many young men coming in, both because of declining cohort sizes, but moving in a different direction type of careers, we're going to be losing that sector.
Because it's not sexy, man. It's not sexy. I worked at a manufacturing job. I'm giving y'all my back work story and shit. But no, I worked at something look just like this. I swear, bro, I still remember this. I would wake up every day. This is when Russ came out with There's Really a Wolf. So it was like the Stakeout was like one of the first songs. Like doors are open and that was previously locked. Treat this game like any other. I just need me to top. So it's just like I would have this burning desire because this is when I first quit football. I was in Michigan working at something looking like this. I was a janitor. So I'm over here cleaning all the floors. I'm riding around a little thing. And there was this one cat, like I'm talking about, I had to be there like 4 o'clock in the morning because I was already used to me working out and being in football workouts. So I had to work at 4 o'clock in the morning. Football used to start at like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like, shit, let me go to get this money. I had 2 jobs I was working, but that's another story for another day. What I'm saying is, as far as the work tip, I had this one cat, cool dude. We would see each other every morning. Like, shit, I'm just working my way up out of here. How you doing, bro? I forgot the bro's name, but I was like, how you doing, bro? I'm working my way up out of here, man. How about yourself? I'm like, shit, I'm about to get up out of here too. He's like, man, we're gonna be millionaires one day. We're gonna figure this out. I was like, yeah. I was 18 years old. I had just quit football. Because I got into college when I was 17. So I was 18. I just quit football. I was 19, turned 19 that following year. Anyway, 18 years old. I'm in like December. I'm cold as heck, shivering. I would always have to be. I was a janitor. So I'm literally sweeping stuff, cleaning stuff. And I'm just like, bro, how do I get out of this? Like, what do I do? What do I do? A couple years later, I found out about wholesaling real estate, but that was a couple years later. But what I'm saying is during that time, bro, it was dark times. It was dark times. And it wasn't something that I was proud of doing, is what I was getting at. It wasn't something I was proud of. So like working in this kind of field, in this kind of environment, if us as men, we like to do something that we're also proud of. So we're going to shoot for the stars. And that's probably why you have 25 to 54-year-old men who still feel like their better years are ahead of them. They're trying to do what they really want to do versus feeling like they have to do something that, what society tells them that they have to do. So on one hand, I really respect it, right? Because there's a lot of more dreamers and a lot more people that are creative and tuning into what really makes them happy. So I respect it on one hand, as long as they're still able to provide for themselves and get everything done. I understand certain people go through certain things, but I do feel like you're able to, as a man, bro, if you're not physically incapacitated, like completely, then you're able to get up a few hours a day and just, you know what I'm saying, put some hours in, go to work. That's it. Go to work. If you don't know, it depends on what work is for you. I know what work is for me. So that's why like clocking in and clocking out, that's not ideal because my pedigree and my mindset has already seen what I can do by just sitting in my house and being on the phone. I can do way more than I'm clocking in and clocking out. I can make that quickly, right? So it's just like, why do that? So it's like trying to go back and revert. It'll be way challenging. But if you're a man that's never experienced being an entrepreneur, then why not at least take some time, at least getting paid from your entrepreneurial efforts? What I mean, really getting paid from your entrepreneurial efforts. Why not take time out of your day as you're still chasing your entrepreneurial journey to at least take time to put effort in, right? Like, look at this, bro. Like, what do you think I'm doing right now? Like, I mean, inshallah, like I'm actually getting paid from YouTube, which has been a blessing. I appreciate all y'all tuning in. Leave like algorithm. It's been dope. I really like. Let's not get distracted, but it's been dope. So, but what I'm saying is, for a long time, I wasn't getting no money at all on YouTube, and I still was having to work and then do something. I can't just. What I'm saying is, bro, I couldn't fall all the way into my dream. I couldn't just go all the way dreamer mode, because it's like if I go all the way dreamer mode, then how am I gonna? I'm a realist, but at the same time, I am very passionate about my dreams and my aspirations, right? But my realism side means that I have to put a practical plan together to achieve my dreams and aspirations, which is why I actually get shit done, right? Because a lot of people out here, they got a lot of dreams, but they don't get shit done. I don't like associating myself with people who talk about what they want to do, but they never do what they talk about they want to do, because that means that you're too much on a dreamer side. If you're on a dreamer side, you liable to just like quit working and just quit everything and just like, but hey, I know because I was there. When I was in Fort Lauderdale, you know what I'm saying? I was Fort Lauderdale, 8 floors up. That's where the video or everything come from, 8 floors up. Living great, right? But I got lost. I got more on my dreamer side instead of my technical side that got me in the position that I was at. I was in a position 8 floors up and, doing everything I was doing financially because of my real estate skills, right? Now I'm back balanced, thankfully, but also I'm back balanced and I'm getting paid from this, which is like I said, it's a dream come true. It really has been a dream come true. Like it's really humbling. But at the same time, it's something I had to work to accomplish. So I've come a far way from being in this environment. This environment was never my end goal, but at the same time, I didn't just get here. Like I didn't just like figure out about wholesaling real estate right after I quit football. And then I didn't just get my first deal right after I heard about wholesaling real estate. I didn't just like get in a position to have a YouTube monetization by just like wanting YouTube. I had to work my ass off is what I'm saying, bro. So you gotta be willing to go through the levels. If you ain't willing to put the time in up front, then why should you get the time in on the back end? You feel me? That's the thing. We all want the time up front. We all want to be posting the next thing on Instagram so people can look at. But it's like, understand that that's just the tip of the iceberg. There was so much that went under for them to make the fucking post. So you have to understand this shit. And I hope I don't get taken out for my copyright. I'm talking on. I'm over here thanking God and stuff. They taking me off the copyright. I don't try not to cuss too much, but I get a little passionate talking about this stuff, bro, because I feel like the lack of accountability in this day and age is becoming uncontrollable, right? There's so much lack of accountability from the standpoint of men and just in society in general. We've told that like we're supposed to do this or we're supposed to do that, but it's like, nah, bro. At the same time, you got to figure out and make it happen. It doesn't happen unless you make it happen. And when you understand what it means to really make it happen, you look at the world differently. When you really understand what it means, like when you really understand what it means to make it happen, like no disrespect to anybody that goes and collect a check, much respect to you. That's the first step though. That's the first step, because after that, you have to figure out how to make it happen without that institution. When you figure out how to make it happen without an institution, bro, your mindset on the world gonna be completely different. You're gonna look at the world different. You're gonna look at people different. You can't help to, because you're making it happen without an institution. But also you gotta balance that with empathy. And that's where I'm at now in my life, inshallah. Like I'm really got empathy. Whereas like when I first started, like I said, I'm 20 years old, earning X amount of money without an institution, college dropout. People told me I couldn't do it. I'm touching six figures. People told me I couldn't do it. Like I'm that young and without an institution. So you're going to look at shit differently. Whereas like if you are in the institution and you're earning that kind of money, you got to take that next step and earn it by yourself. Because what happens when the institution says we had enough of you?
Of productivity.
Despite a steep rise in federal funding, the infrastructure sector hasn't been able to find enough workers, with the construction workforce shortage surpassing 500,000 in 2024.
We are a little concerned about the impact that inflation is going to have and has had on the movement of infrastructure dollars into the actual productive activity. Having a shortage of men in construction is going to raise a problem.
The trend could have a dire sociopolitical impact as well.
It'll get worse in ways that we would not like. I mean, I think it would lead to more premature deaths, but it will also likely lead to radicalization and polarization, because this is a frustrated, left-behind group with no options.
There are problems that government can address and problems that government can't address.
So one of the first functions that beats out policy is economic growth. You have a strong economy, you're going to have increased wage structure, and it's going to bring people back into the market.
More than a quarter of prime-age men not looking for work cited insufficient pay as a reason preventing them from work. And nearly half said competitive pay, salary, compensation, and/or bonuses was a very important factor when considering whether to enter or return to the workforce.
For the young, better training, skills training, some form of post-high school education, encouraging that, maybe even subsidizing that. I think part of the youth mental health crisis has to do with what's next. What's AI going to do? What am I going to do? Are there any stable jobs? I can't afford college. All those questions all come together. And so models that help them kind of give them a jump start can be really effective ways of intervening. And there are actually now really promising programs in high schools which teach kids financial literacy. They teach them about equitable entrepreneurship. They teach them about how do you foster better mental health as part of the workplace. And it seems to inspire kids to go on to college, right? Because they sort of see a pathway where they didn't see it before.
29% of men out of the labor force said that training and educational programs was another important factor in considering a return to the workforce.
Having the type of commitment from the employer to train and retain and offer upward mobility for workers, I think will be very important.
I think that's very important. Training your employees and being able to offer upward mobility, never being in a position, but also don't do these. I heard this term. It's called like corporate America is using another term. It's called a soft hire or a soft promotion, or a dry promotion. That's what they call a dry promotion. They got this thing called dry promotions in corporate America, meaning that you get a promotion in your title, but it ain't wet. You ain't getting paid from it. So you're getting a promotion as in like you may be like, instead of just being like the regular salesperson, now like you're like the leader salesperson, right? But you're not getting paid for it. That's insane to me. So you're picking up extra responsibility, but you're not getting paid. That's insane to me, right? Because it's like That's why it goes back to the salary position. Like, you just want to have like in your head, like, of course, if I can tell you right now watching, it's like, hey, if you give me $20, like, you want to be more than who you are. Like, what I'm saying is, bro, to give something for nothing is not a fair exchange. You're giving up more of your time, your freedom, your resources, your mental space, and you're getting nothing in return. But the idea is that you get, bonus points, right? You're putting your time in, so when you do get the real promotion with the money, but it's like, nah, I don't give something for nothing. I don't work like that. But it's stuff like that is why, it's probably why men are leaving too. They feel like they're being finessed, is what I'm saying. You can't finesse the brothers. We're gonna realize it, especially men. Like, we gonna be different than women. Women gonna come back and just talk stuff to their partner. Men gonna just up and quit. I'm done. Just up and quit one day.
Figure out more about career pathways in the labor market and not just the education side. So how is it that someone moves from first job, next job to best job? How do we help people understand and navigate?
Nearly a quarter of working Americans said they weren't satisfied with their growth opportunities in the workplace, compared to other OECD countries that on average spend 0.1% of their GDP on training their workers. The US spent only 0.03% of their GDP on job training in 2022.
Older age groups, it's tougher. You're probably not going to get these guys to retrain, but you can there are a lot of programs that have largely been pioneered in the UK, much more than here, but we're starting to pick up on them, that literally just try and reboot community activities. They get these isolated people in despair out of their houses. It can make a difference.
Social programs like disability benefits spark contentious debate.
It's very controversial. People have very strong opinions about this. While we don't know why it is happening, we can be pretty clear that the social welfare programs are helping, and the disability programs are helping to finance this situation in a way that was never originally intended.
A 2018 analysis by the Joint Economic Committee found that 64% of prime age men who aren't working were receiving some sort of government assistance.
So the one benefit that they rely heavily on is disability insurance. One, because they often are unable to work if they have a physical injury or high levels of addiction or whatever. But it also provides health insurance, which is huge.
Very much against the initial intentions of the founders of the program. They've ended up with a perverse situation that too often subsidizes or even incentivizes helplessness and long-term dependence.
So you hear what he's saying right there? Like, he's basically saying that the disability program is basically incentivizing people to stay home in some instances, right? I think we all know that one person who been like, shit, I'm about to go ahead and get workers' comp for the next year. I don't need to go to work. I got hurt on the job, or I got hurt. I'm injured. I don't need to go. Some people, they really may be going through things. Like, they really genuinely may be going through things, but they also still can possibly get up a couple hours throughout the day and go to work. That being said, to say what Bruh just said, the idea of incentivizing people to not go to work, like, this is like, this ironic I said this won't be a political stream, but everything really kind of relates. And just to bring it back, when you look at the Democratic versus Republican Party, like I said, the reason why I went with the Republican Party because there was more accountability. A lot of these programs, when it comes to government assistance programs, like your, Social Security, your disability, a lot of those programs are, of course, they both want them, but I'm saying that they're propped up a little bit more by the Democratic Party. Like, they both got a hand in it, but it is propped up a little bit more by the Democratic Party, right? So they can get their benefits, all these, even social welfare. It incentivizes mothers to not have a man in the household. Section 8, that incentivizes mothers to not have a man in the household. Like, this is what these government assistance programs does. That's another reason why I went with voting for the Republican Party. It's not that they're going to get rid of these programs, but they're more likely to, how do I say it? Like, they don't raise your taxes to give more money to these programs, for one, and then also for two, they're more likely to, you don't know with either one of them, but the idea that they be talking about is that they put more requirements, right? More requirements on those benefits. So there's not women out here getting pregnant and just being like, I'm okay, I can just be on, I can be on WIC, I can be on Social Security, I can be on all these different government assistance programs. Like, they're giving it to you and they telling you, hey, here, I'm helping you out. Let me give you welfare. Let me give you this. Let me give you that. But if you haven't heard was it Lyndon B. Johnson back in like the 1960s or something? He said, I'll have these N words with the R, like the N-ers. I'll have them voting Democrat for the next 200 years. When he said this, he introduced a whole bunch of government assistance programs. These government assistance programs, like I said, it just includes the disability, the welfare, the WIC system, all of these different programs that incentivize low income. Like, of course, it was black, but it was low income, right? So there's a lot of white people that are on WIC and government assistance and all that kind of stuff, right? But it was low income targeted from the standpoint that there was more black people that are lower income proportionally given to how many people. There's 14% of the population is what black people make up, right? Of that 14%, there was more black people that are lower income than white people making up X amount of population, 65% of the population. They're more high income individuals in that percentage group, given, just how the ratio breaks down. Guys, I say all of that to say, when it comes to, these government assistance programs, don't fall victim to what the government is willing to give you. Even if you are like injured or something like that, there's still ways for you to get out there and get to stepping, bro. You can make money at this day and age from your house, literally on your computer, sitting down. You can do that. So if you can do that, then there's no excuse for you to make money. Like, especially there's so many people that allow you to work from home, but there's so many ways to get paid. Don't just fall off and just be on government assistance all day. That's crazy.
Subsidizes or even incentivizes helplessness and long-term dependence. If we thought about a system in which we had a work-first principle where the incentives were for getting the training and then showing up at the job and then staying at the job, I think we'd be in a lot better place than we are today.
However, some experts remain doubtful about whether altering the benefits program will lead to meaningful results.
I think until we deal with the deeper problem of ill health, ill mental health, these guys aren't going to respond to incentives.
Everybody is responsible for their brothers. Everybody's responsible for their neighbors and their friends. And we ourselves as citizens can help to shine a spotlight on this. It shouldn't be America's invisible problem. And the more that we talk about it, the more that we pay attention to it, the closer we get to turning this around.
All right, Big Steppers, I feel like today was an important stream. Like I said, man, I had to come on here and talk about some things I know people has not been necessarily talking about, these kind of things that's been, happening. I know the Diddy situation and the Trump and everything else. We're going to get back to a regularly scheduled program here tomorrow. Tune in, we live once a day, man. I've been thinking about the Get to Steppin morning show. It's still a show, but it's the Get to Steppin podcast. Got to be a podcast. That way I can give myself freedom. I'll be up early, but I got my routine that I like to do in the morning. I like to have my breakfast. I like to go on my walks. I like to go on my jogs. I like to get my workout in. I like my exercises in the morning. Get to stepping throughout the rest of the day. So all of that being said, I appreciate y'all tuning in. As it comes to all my brothers out there, y'all be smart, man. You already know what it is. I'm about to go ahead and hop off. I appreciate y'all tuning in. But I got this. Wait, we got some messages here. I'm about to check this out. We got the chat overlay. Hello, how are you? Lena Roman. I don't know who this is. I appreciate you tuning in, Lena. And whoever else tuned in today, appreciate all of y'all on Rumble. Give us a like for the algorithm. And until next time, as always, you know what to do. Get the stepping, get the stepping, get the stepping. Hey, I do something else with my hands. Y'all be easy, man. Who they think gonna beat them Bengals? Nobody. I'm about to watch the game. I'm about to pregame. I got 15 minutes to pregame for